So I wanted to do a bit of a different video today and react to some of the reviews that employees of different companies leave for the companies they worked for, just to see what are some of the things that we really care about. Are these like the worst companies to work for? Hi, it's Daria here. So I wanted to do a bit of a different video today and react to some of the reviews that employees of different companies leave for the companies they worked for, just to see what are some of the things that we really care about, but also to see some of the examples of not so great behaviors or not so great dynamics in a company that maybe you can recognize, to see whether the company you're working for is actually the right fit for you. I have found some companies that I think are pretty known generally to everyone, and also companies that most likely have a product or project management department that is related to building new products, maybe some software development, and really places where I believe agile is something that most likely is happening. That was my criteria for choosing them, and of course I looked into the lists of the worst companies to work for. Editing Daria here. I was editing this video and I realized that it was getting really long, and I couldn't really put everything that I filmed in here, and that's why I decided to only put one company here for this video and review 4 different reviews for this company. And if you like this kind of video, let me know, and I can either reuse what I already have or maybe film some new videos in a similar manner. The first company I'm going to be reviewing is Gamestop, and they are on the list of the worst companies to work for. Their general rating is below 3, it's 2.9. Let's look into that and see what the reviews are. What happened to selling games people want? 2 out of 5. I was up to date on new video game releases, and once and while got a free toy. Excellent first job to experience the horrors of corporate America. Wow, that's a good start. Even in the pros, we already have some horrors and we have some ideas on what is going to happen. So cons, it was extremely focused on metrics over the customer experience, which is such a common trend in companies, that we focus too much on efficiency and how fast are we delivering, and then we forget that the customers don't actually want our product, and we've spent millions of dollars on building it, and now no one actually cares about it. There was a dashboard with stats on each transaction you processed. If you wouldn't meet your goals, you would be harassed and eventually your hours cut. That is kind of comes back for me to that point of failing, that in the world where everything changes, we need to be able to fail and then learn from our failures. But if we, in a company that does not accept any kind of failure, if you don't meet your goals, apparently that's terrible, then of course you're not going to learn from it. And I think what also happens is that if you know that revealing some information is going to be taken out of context or going to be used against you, then you just will hide that information, and it actually makes much harder for the company itself to be more successful. Not only was it impossible to meet these goals, which went up over time, but you were expected to manipulate customers into these purchases that include every category of product while supervising the store alone. Interesting to see that it's impossible to meet these goals. I think that's mostly related to like deadlines. When some deadlines or some dates come in from the management that are not at all realistic and cannot really be met, that is something that I think happens, and it seems like that is what was happening here. And if the goals were going up all the times, definitely not something that maybe was really aligned with what was happening in the store. I would be hours by myself and somehow expected to deter theft. Inventory stocking, selling, and cleaning were done alone. It was extremely stressful and not safe. Of course, there was eventually be something to come in and help, but no matter how big the store was, there was only ever 2. It didn't help that our training was just looking at videos and answering quizzes. The training part definitely is something that is important for the employees, and I think I remember working for a company company, and we had a training budget, and like it was assigned to all of the employees. Everybody had like $1,500 a year to spend, and it was impossible to use it. It was like in the system, officially it was there, and you technically could use that budget, but in reality, you could never get it approved. That is definitely something that happens in companies, and I feel that companies need to invest in their employees. I know that employees potentially will leave, especially if they kind of get new skills, but in this case, it feels like you are setting yourself up for failure if you're not actually training the employees for what they need to do. Let's go to the next one. Lack of clear vision. Pros: a lot of talented new hires eager to transform Gamestop, changes underway to monetize Gamestop. So yeah, definitely good to have some great hires, but if you can't retain the talent, then it doesn't matter how talented your new hires are, they're going to leave eventually. Cons: resources cut continuously, hard to do your job, priority change fast without analysis reasoning. Benefits leave a lot to be desired, HR outdated. Just kind of looking at the title itself, lack of clear vision, that is, I feel, the giving a clear vision and giving good goals to the employees is just the key element of a manager's job or leader's job. And I think that is missing in a lot of companies. So there is like a disalignment between the company goals and company vision, mission, all of those things that are kind of high level. And then people who are doing the job, there is a huge disconnect between the two. And people who are doing the job, they don't really know how what they're doing is actually helping the organization. It impacts motivation, whether they want to continue, right? Especially if there are some unrealistic expectations put in place, definitely not going to help at all. Resources cut continuously and changes in priorities. I think it's interesting to see that they say resources were cut continuously and there were changes in priorities all the time. The teams are working really hard on trying to deliver something, but because the priorities change, then we never get a chance to really deliver value. So we keep working, we're super busy all the time, but we don't actually produce any value. The company looks at it and says, well, it seems like we're not getting what we need, so we're going to cut the resources because we need to cut our costs, but we're still waiting for the same results. And priorities change. It's also something that you can solve by really just, first of all, installing some good value metrics. What does success look like for your company, for your product? It's not about efficiency. It's not about how fast something is being done. It's really about your customers and whether you're delivering value to them. And just having clear prioritization criteria is definitely a must in this case. Also, if we look at Scrum, and if we want to implement Scrum, we have the product owner, who is the single point of contact and the single source of truth for what the team should be working on. That alleviates that priorities changes that happen all the time. And I think that is really helpful for when you're building new products. So in this case, I assume there are lots of different managers, executives, stakeholders who have the ability to say what the team is working on. They do that. And basically every time, every day, or every week, the team is starting to work on something new, so they never get a chance to deliver. Definitely not helping the company and obviously impacting the employees' morale, their ability to do work and all of those things. This one is 1 out of 5. Very bad. So the pros are nice laptop and ability to work remotely, but as we know, now most of the companies work remotely. So maybe at the time, oh no, it was less than 1 year ago. I mean, then it's not even an advantage. There are so many companies that are like fully remote or allow like a hybrid model, kind of almost expected now. Cons: lack of leadership support, constant shifting of work priority. Hey, we heard about that already, as well as the lack of leadership. Expectations are too high we heard that already again. For new hires, lack of empathy, lack of transparency, lack of understanding of what a product manager, product owner role entails. I'm sure they were held accountable for delivering value, so creating a great product, but at the same time, they were not given the resources and most likely the decision power to actually do their job, which obviously it doesn't make a lot of sense. If you hold someone accountable, you need to make sure that they have everything they need to be successful, because if by default they don't, at some point they're going to stop trying, right? I really like that it was kind of here highlighted the empathy and transparency around really just working with employees and colleagues just in corporate environment. We need to remember that everybody at work is a human being. They have their lives, they have their fears, wishes, and all of those things. And it's important to understand that people are not like cogs in the system. They are people. And if you want them to be successful, if you want them to do a great job, you need to remember that part and you need to also work on it. And that's why we have things like team building events or various activities that are not specifically work related, like holidays or like different parties, and just encouraging people to get together, to get to know each other. I think that is very important. And it is much harder right now, I think, because of the remote work, because we don't have as many opportunities to create that culture of just people coming together. Empathy is an important part. And I really like how it's written here, just the fact that it is highlighted. And then transparency. And you might know that I am pretty obsessed with that transparency and the need for transparency. So honesty, transparency, radical candor. Transparency is such a huge part of any team. I even feel that it's not even team, but if you want to build strong relationships, whether in your professional life or your personal life, being transparent, being honest is like a prerequisite for building trust. Good things, bad things, because that's the only way to help others help you. So kind of make sure that everybody's on the same page and the decisions that are made are based on real honest information rather than maybe, on muddied information or some miscommunication and things like that. Talking about the lack of understanding of what the product manager, product owner role entails, that happens in so many different situations. I feel that whenever we see a job title that we are maybe not 100% familiar with, or we never worked with the person before, it's like we are trying to put them into a box we already know. Like a Scrum Master, for example, is usually put into the box of a project manager. Product manager and product owner, I think, are also often put into that project manager role because it's very known. We all know what it is, kind of have an idea around it. So product owner, something new, never heard about that before. What does this person do? Well, I don't have time to figure it out, so I'm just going to put you into this box I already am familiar with. And this is where that need for education really comes in. And if you are working with your organization that is implementing some new processes or approaches, then never skip training, like actual good training that goes into detail and all of those things. And then repetition is a path to mastery. The more you talk about it, the more you introduce it to your team and especially your management, the better. Advice to management. The culture is broken and needs to be rebuilt with fresh outlook. Trust your people and assume that everyone new has positive intentions. Give your new hires time to ramp up before throwing them into the fire so that they are set up to succeed. That need for trust, right? Trust your people and assume that everyone has positive intention. It is kind of the start of how do we build trust in an organization? How do we build psychological safety? Well, we need to trust each other, right? We need to be transparent, and that's what helps us build trust. It's kind of like a cycle. You need trust to have transparency, but you also need transparency to have trust. And so you're kind of working in this cycle and trying to improve on both sides at the same time. And yeah, it comes from management. Now the question is, if you don't assume that everyone new has positive intentions, question would be like, why did you hire them? If you don't trust them, why are are they here? If by default you believe that they are going to do a terrible job or they are unprofessional and you cannot trust them, don't hire them. Interesting. Let's do one more from Gamestop. Okay, I found one more 1-star review. Store opening coordinator, so more kind of in the field person. Pros: great store managers and associates as well as most customers. That's great. Now cons: no work-life balance. Pay for most isn't that good. Salaried people work crazy hours except for in California where they can't. Company has no loyalty to you but wants blind loyalty from associate. Top down has no idea about the people who actually work in the stores. This is more kind of in the field, the person working in the field, and of course that even creates even large gap between management, working in the office and like executives leadership and people working in the store. So that gap, there is lots of information lost. So decisions made on the leadership level most likely are not at all aligned with what is happening in the field. Now, no work-life balance and salary people work crazy hours. That is kind of coming back to that notion of sustainable pace. And yes, you can squeeze out your employees to 150 to 100%, but if they work in an unsustainable pace for too long, then your results of their work are going to go down. Their morale is going to be affected and their results will be terrible because they will start making mistakes, they will not be as motivated, they will work slower, and eventually burn out. You don't want people to burn out suddenly. And honestly, as an employer and a manager, I feel that if someone burns out, that's your fault. If someone in your team is burning out, you're not doing your job. You need to be on the lookout for those things and make sure that people who work for you have that work-life balance. It is extremely important because you want people who have kind of both sides of life, not just work, because they bring that additional knowledge and a different outlook from the rest of their life. And also we all need to rest sometimes if you want to be effective and productive. One more thing is interesting. Company has no loyalty to you but wants blind loyalty from you. It is a very interesting, I guess, dynamic that happens between companies and employees. We're being asked sometimes, in the interview, why do you want to work for this company specifically? And sometimes you might have a reason why you want to work for a specific company, but in reality, well, I'm looking for a job. I want to work a certain job, and it seems like you have the job that I'm looking for, So it's not that I am in love with Gamestop or I'm in love with a particular product you create. It might be the case, but it doesn't have to be. I'm looking for a job, you're looking for an employee. It's kind of, it's a transaction between the two. I'm trying to find the company that will align with what I'm looking for, and you're trying to find the employee that aligns with what you're looking for. We either create loyalty on both sides, or we expect really that there is a transactional relationship between company and employee by default. Blind loyalty, it's just unreasonable. The loyalty part is definitely something that is interesting overall, I think, in company to employee relationship. And advice to management: stop worrying about shareholders and take care of your associates. Yes, that's a good one. We obviously have customers, right? Let's just think about it. We have a company that has customers. Customers are paying the company, so in this case shareholders as well. They are putting money into the company, and that is what helps the company to exist. And so that side of the equation always is looked at as like, this is the thing, like everything can burn, but these people have to be like satisfied and happy. You're talking about shareholders. But the reality is employees working for your companies have the same weight as the shareholders, because if you don't have employees, you don't have customers. If your employees are not delivering great products or not building great products, or they're unhappy, then your customers will also leave. So you need to balance out the two sides. You need to find consensus between worrying about what shareholders want and worrying about what your employees want. So when we look at some of the agile metrics, we have not only the value metrics, but we also have metrics associated with the team, right? Team morale, team health, generally how they work together, are they effective? So all of those things are still as important as the value delivered because they cannot exist one without the other. That is Gamestop. So those are all of the things that I wanted to talk about. Very short reaction to giving you my opinion on those reviews and giving you some ideas of what you can implement in your team to maybe make it a better place to work. And if you like this kind of content, let me know. I enjoy doing that. So if you would like me to maybe do some more reviews, just comment down below. Just let me know if it's great and you enjoy it, or if it's not, maybe not something that you're interested in. It would help me to know. And if you generally like content about building great teams, corporate environment, corporate story experiences, and how to be successful in a corporate world, subscribe to this channel, leave a like, and of course, leave a comment. That really helps me grow my channel and create more awesome content for you. And also, just to remind you that on my website at scrummaster.com, you can sign up for my newsletter to be notified of the new blog post, but also receive some exclusive content that I only share via email, as well as some special offers. And in my store, shop.scrummaster.com, you can find lots of guides and templates to help you facilitate discussions, retrospectives, workshops, and I think those would be very helpful for you if you are working with an agile team or any other team really and want them to be more productive and effective. That is it for this video. Thank you for watching, and I hope you learned something new. I'll see you in the next video. Cheers and Scrum on!